going to start off with some general Q&A today. So kind of just an open format. If you have a question, feel free to raise your hand or start speaking or put up the little hand emoji thing and we can get kicked off with some questions.
So yeah, hey, I'm Nathaniel. Hey, got a quick question for you. I did have I posted on the forums. I'd love to see if we can add it to the roadmap or something, and that is like a notification about the chat sessions. I've had people say, "Hey, look, I'd like you to." There are two things because the prereq requirements, like where you get the lead information. I'm like that. I still haven't figured out how to get that to work right. I'm not that super techie and don't have time to really dig into stuff. But then people are like, "Hey, please call me." And they leave their number or please email me tomorrow morning, because they're in a chat. And I'm like, I found it 3 days or 5 days later because they interact with the chat bot. And then they're like, "Yeah, I want to call back." And then I don't realize that it's happened.
Got it. Okay. So there's two ways that we can, well, there's one way that we could address this and we could help get you set up with this enabled with it, which is that lead webhook notification system. And that would allow you to be notified whenever they enter in that phone number. So that notification could be automatically sent right now with our existing system. Depending on what you or that client uses, we can use a combination of their CRM, your CRM, a Zapier account, something that will be able to notify wherever they are. On the flip side of that, it could also just be an email. So,
Yeah, that's the one that I would be, I use Zero Inbox. And
okay.
so they come to me. And so I'm like, yeah, I'd love to just have it show up in my inbox and
Mhm.
tells me I'm done if I can get notified like that. But I think the thing that was difficult with the chatbot for the lead gen was that it requires the contact information. It's like, before we get started, can I get your name and email address and phone number? And I'm like, that's a barrier to the lead as opposed to putting it,
Yeah. And so it will actually do whatever you want it to do as far as collecting those leads. What we haven't done a great job with is educating you all on how to modify that lead collection prompt that indicates to the AI what to do. Now, we're going to be solving this with a tutorial, an end-to-end tutorial that I'm developing, which will, take you through all the steps to create an AI agent, from getting the knowledge base working to, doing lead collection to even doing scheduling. So yeah, that's our fault a bit there. You can modify that. It's really just functions that the AI is calling, like capabilities, actions that it has, and you can modify that prompt to say, "Hey, you know what? Only bring this up and try to get their name when they want it," or whatever you want
yeah,
to say.
yeah, exactly. Trying to figure out
Yep.
how to do that.
Yeah.
And longer term, we are going to be adding the capability for what we're calling custom functions. We may improve that name later down the road, but basically giving the chatbot the ability to do what you want it to do.
So if you go into the marketplace, there is this one, Stammer lead gen example questions allowed. If you
Good
clone
point.
this example into your account, allow you to have them ask questions and then it will ask them to ask to get their phone number.
Got
So
it.
yeah, just different ways of trying to prompt it. And this is one of the things that in general, like everybody is learning kind of all together on how we need to prompt these things to make them do what we want them to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, but yeah, check that one out from the marketplace. Give that one a test, and then hit us up. Let us know how that works for you, and then we'll also, like Tim said, we'll continue to add more tutorials and stuff for that. And then that being said, just on the last note, we are for everyone else also, because I know Tim, you mentioned this in the past, the summary emails with analytics and conversation summaries when the bot doesn't know an answer. These are all conversations that we had this morning about this. So we're actively working on flushing this functionality out, and that's going to be something that will be rolled out very, very shortly.
Awesome. Excited. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, my pleasure. One other thing I would add as a
Yeah.
comment, just an observation. I noticed that my OG chatbot no longer has the newer settings when you create a new chatbot. And I'm like, I want to be able to. So I ended up going in and copying and pasting the text from the new to the old so it's like use the best practices today instead of the ones that were originally set up. because I've also got configurations with the chatbot like integrated with the website. So I'd rather not have to redo the integrations and everything. So, but being able to say, oh, just set it to default parameters, set the chatbot back to default parameters, especially for some of the older chatbots. I don't know if I'm the only one. It could very well be, but I noticed that you
And
get
which settings are those specifically? Are you talking about the base system prompt?
base system prompts and stuff. Yes, exactly.
So we do that on purpose, actually. We don't change usually anyone's older
Right. And
base
that makes
system prompts.
perfect sense. I totally get that. What I'm thinking is restore to default, having a restore to default for base system prompt.
Oh, like a restore to the default new base system.
Yeah.
Hmm.
As a, just have
Yep.
a little button that says restore to default,
Mhm.
and it just rewrites, and it's optional.
Yeah.
It might come up with are you sure you want to do this? It will overwrite.
Yeah,
That's a
when
really good idea.
we're actually working on a reset to defaults button for the appearance section that will reset it all back to the original colors and all
Yeah,
that stuff too. So basically kind of the same thing, but for the base system.
exactly.
Yep.
Got
Cool.
it. Thank you. I've written that down.
Hey, my pleasure. All right, I'm gonna shut up now. Let someone else.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. Anybody else have a question?
I had a I had a question about the document retrieval query I put in the conversation earlier in the week, or yesterday, I think it was. I didn't get any feedback yet, so I just wondered if that was progressing or if there's. I need to go back to my client basically, and it's a big opportunity, so I've got to give him an update with regard to accessibility of documentation in the system.
Yes, we are working on that. We will get that to where only the logged in user can access those files. Originally, that was designed that way because no one knew the file URLs. So we didn't bother with the complexity of, restricting it. But now that was an unforeseen edge case that with the fact that the chatbot now is sharing the URLs with the user, that was unexpected. So we will get that fixed, and let me check on the status of that.
So if anybody has any questions, like just in what I'm about to show you is going to be kind of a full run through of a really good use case that a couple agencies used that we talked about last week. They immediately turned around and used it as a use case to sell to a business. Those businesses are using Slack for their internal team. When they have a new customer support VA, a new team member to come in who's interacting with customers, not in one of the automatic ways. So for example, a SaaS company like ourselves who's using like a Freshdesk to manage their support tickets. They have an internal Slack where all their team members are asking questions to their managers or whoever about, hey, I'm not quite sure about this. I need some help. Wouldn't it be great if you could make an AI chatbot that knew all the stuff about your business that the VAs could ask, and then it would provide them templated answers to not only help them understand what the answer is, but how to respond in the way that you would like them to respond. So this is a use case that a lot of people have been asking for, and we're able to build it out extremely easily. So this is that example. And just a quick overview, this is essentially all that is really needed in order to build this out. So we're doing this in Zapier, and we're using our native Stammer.ai Zap app, whatever you want to call it. You could also do that, and this is the quote unquote non-white labeled version. So like if you're an agency and this customer never needs to know that you're integrating with Zapier in the back end, then this can be a super easy and simple option to do. So to get started, we need to make a bot. And in this case, I made one that is scraped off of all the documentation on our documentation. So I went in, took the URL, and now all the characters, all the text on all those pages are now trained by the bot. Notice I have this enabled: auto scrape and auto train website every 24 hours. So now every time I go and make changes to our Git book, which is our support documentation, that will automatically be updated by the bot every 24 hours. If this has not been enabled, I would highly recommend enabling it because it's a great feature. This also now works with public Google Docs, public Notion boards, any sort of public data or public website that you could access without a login or need to, provide credentials. The scraper will be able to read that data and then again update it on every 24 hours. So a use case that we had a lawyer client of ours, they're reselling, an AI focused law advice bot, and their team is not so technically enabled. So instead of them having to go in and manually update files or update stuff on a website, I just said, hey, go paste in your Google Doc. And then if you have updates you want to, update, just go paste them in your Google Doc. That's it. The bot will automatically take care of everything else. So they were like, oh, that's great. Trained this bot on all of the data from the knowledge base. The prompt that I used for this exact bot can be found. You go into our docs, into the prompting section, prompt examples, base system template. This is the exact copy and paste version that I used. And then I went ahead and filled it out for Stammer. So business name, I put in Stammer, and this is because this is a bot that I'm creating for our internal VAs who are helping with support as an example for this use case. So if you were making this, you would fill this out with the name of your client, for example, and what they do and what their unique selling points are. And that's essentially what this prompt is. And it's just very simple and straightforward rules of how this bot should act and engage with users when certain questions come into play. And that's basically it for the setup of the bot. We're done. So now we're going to embed this or integrate this with a Slack channel. So the trigger is going to be new message posted in a Slack channel. And in this case, I have the example up right here. So I just made a channel called AI Chatbot as an example. We're making sure that this is only going to be triggered for user messages, not bot, so it doesn't respond to itself. That's key. And then in this step, this is a filter to say, I want to make it so that it only responds when I'm tagging it. So if if Tim and I were to come in here and just start talking to each other, it would not respond to any of the messages that me and Tim are saying. If you want to go in there real quick and just, say something. And this is so that way you can kind of structure it where it won't be unlimited responses like with everything. It's only targeted. So it will only respond when I'm actually saying when it should respond. So it won't respond to that. And that's because of this. When it goes through this filter, when it is tagged, I'm now using the Stammer app. I'm going to connect it by entering in my API key. And if you want to find your API key, you can go to Account, API, and that's this value right here. You can just click copy to clipboard. You're going to paste that in, and that will allow you to connect it. And then you need to paste in your chatbot UUID. And so you're going to go into the chatbot that we just created. And then right in the right-hand column right here, you said chatbot UUID. And this is the unique identifier for this individual AI agent. And so now we know that this is connected here. The query is going to be the message from Slack, and the user ID is going to be the user from Slack. And this is all just native information in this integration. This is the step that will both take in the message from the user. It is then going to send it to Stammer to generate the response. And then this action also then receives the response back. So the result is the actual answer from the AI agent in text format that we can then send back in the final step back into the channel. So if I go in here and say, what's the A record for DNS? Live demos are always fun, but there we go. And so now this is like a very kind of, I don't know, simple-esque use case that anybody could kind of replicate and build out and then offer to a client as one of your ways to position your offer to become that more irresistible offer. Hey, we'll integrate it into your Slack so that way you and your team have an internal bot that knows everything about your business and all that good stuff. So, I mean, granted, I kind of glossed over a few items there in terms of scraping or copy and pasting the base system prompt in there, but taking that stuff into consideration, you can make one of those AI agents within an hour very easily, and then be able to deploy it and start testing it to see kind of, how people respond. And when we showed this to people initially, this is one of those things that, collectively we, as people that are, maybe more tech, it might not be that like, oh, amazing, but we showed it to some agencies and they were like, are you joking? Like we can have, like, it blew their mind. And I was like, to me, it's just like, oh, that's just kind of a thing, but like from their perspective, this was a complete game changer. So it's always about like how we're positioning this stuff. And when we position it with something that a business is already using, they're already familiar with it. And now we're enhancing it with the white label AI agents, just provides that it's an easier way for them to see that initial value. And then it's an easier way for you to sell it. Justin, is there anything I missed there? Is there anything you want to add on that?
I think one immediate use case, I mean, many of us have worked for a big company before that has, yeah, like, a ton of onboarding stuff, right? And when you started a company, you're trying to figure out where things are, who to contact for what. And this is just a perfect kind of like HR assistant chatbot, which can help expedite onboarding if people are joining a company new. And I mean, that's just one use case. There's just infinite use cases with this. So yeah, when I first saw this, that was kind of my first inclination, was an HR onboarding bot. But yeah, tons of use cases.
A lot of the use cases and a lot of the stuff that we've always talked about is the customer facing example, which is embedding the AI chatbot on a website. But this is a complete alternate use case that can be sold just as easily. Steven says, in one of your videos, you mentioned that you showed prospect how it works live. Could you repeat that sales process? I guess is that kind of similar to what we just showed, or can you explain on that a bit further?
Yeah, you were talking about in one of the videos that you had a potential client, and I think you immediately reacted on that and showed like, this is what I can do for you. You implemented the bot. I don't know if that was on a dummy site or on his site, and you actually showed how fast, yeah, it could respond the answers and stuff like that. Because then you're actually showing what you can deliver the second you are talking to your prospect. So I'm actually from Belgium, and my clients are all HVAC retailers. Yeah.
Mhm.
So they spend about 100, they have about 100 million euro in revenue, but they have like 700 different suppliers. Those suppliers, they all have their stuff in their web shop and stuff like that. So that's a lot of data to process. Yeah. So everybody, like internal sales, needs to know where it comes from, where to find the data, and just use the chatbot to find the data. But also the customer who comes to the site, he just types in a few keywords and then he finds all the data.
Mhm.
But that's like, I don't know, maybe 5,000 tutorials of manuals and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that's like, yeah, a lot of data.
As long as it's publicly accessible website URLs, you can
Mm.
scrape all of that data. And then we have this option called show data sources and chat widget. So specifically, this is one, so I glossed over this. I didn't even mention this. So when you create a chatbot inside your dashboard, typically you have the options to embed it via a website or just engage with it right here in the chatbot. So if I was to ask the same question, should show me the links of where it found those answers. And so for your example, this will be able to show that the users could click exactly where that message was found, and then they'll have the full documentation of where that answer was found. So if it's a guide or more, something that has in-depth like graphics and examples or videos, for example, that need to be displayed, as long as there's text around it that explains it, then the AI agent will be able to understand it, provide an answer, and then also provide the sources where it got that answer. So this is one of those things. This is a thing that I would recommend testing out by uploading maybe 10% of the overall amount of data that you're looking to upload, and just start testing, like needle in the haystack testing, to see if it's able to pull up the right answers and the right documentation that you're wanting for it to provide, and then scale it up from there.
And because I'm more a sales guy, I don't know how well this works. So is there like, I don't know, partnership possibilities or something with certain companies who who really have this side already done, because my customers like for stuff like this that helps their website for companies that do 10, 20, 50 or 100 million. Yeah, I can charge like, yeah, I don't know, 5K, 10K a month for stuff like this, because they can put just an employee in the summer just on a chatbot that finds the data when they get a call and stuff like that.
Hmm. Definitely.
So just with the AI bot would be like a service agent.
Yeah,
So
for sure. So two options. I just put the link to the Stammer Discord. This could be a really good opportunity for you to team up with an existing agency who might be a little bit more technical, who has this site handled, and you could team up with them to start being like, I'll handle the sales, you handle the development, and then we go from there.
yeah,
Alternatively, we do offer a little bit more help, kind of like in an a la carte fashion. It is quite expensive, but that being said, that's why I'm kind of referring you back to the community first, because I think there will be a lot more value there rather than us just charging you more money, to be honest.
yeah, but yeah, the money you just charge it back to the company that's paying you. If it's a $25,000 euro contract, it's 25K. You either take it or you leave it. That's what it is.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, okay,
Cool.
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Do you guys have a WordPress plugin on your roadmap?
We have one, I think, made, but we didn't release it because I mean, I'm sure, WordPress is just a lovely infrastructure to work with.
It's not that bad.
Tim, why do we not?
No, some people don't like PHP. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did create a WordPress plugin. We can investigate that again. I don't believe we did release it to the WordPress, whatever that's called. I can't remember. But
Yeah.
we thought in the end, in many ways, that since it depends on your theme, you know how WordPress is. I mean, it really depends on your theme, how easy it is or not easy it is to add custom kind of HTML code. So maybe a WordPress plugin would be a great idea to finish, because it was a bare bones one. It's just we haven't had anyone ask for it until now.
Yeah. And most people we've just redirected to just embed it. Like,
Yeah, just embed it using, because I think I created a tutorial to use a free plugin to just embed it that way.
We were having problems with our hosting. I'm using SiteGround, which is one of the more popular ones, and I don't know why, but it wasn't liking the embed functionality. We ended up getting it working, but I figured I'd ask. I was just, again, figured I'd ask.
yeah, no, good. Yeah, thanks. Good questions.
Yeah, if you have a real kind of reason to do it, like additional functionality, we could consider it, but it seems easy enough to just embed it in traditional ways to do it.
Yep, absolutely.
Any other questions?
Earlier, Tim mentioned that there would be custom function calling. Will there be some kind of crew AI-like possibilities where we can connect agents in a hierarchical way, or where they can collaborate in a
Yes.
more stricter way?
Yes.
Yes. It's tough to have a conversation about this right now because we're in early R&D and in kind of idea development for this. So the short answer is yes. The long answer is how we're going to implement this in a way that's not the traditional like builder, connect this to this, this to this, this to this. Yes, we're working on it. We'll have updates more soon.
Yeah, and just to add a little bit more to that, so custom functions is giving the bots capabilities, right, to call other code and other systems. This is what you seem to have anticipated a need for, which is find, some way, some type of builder to connect bots together to string together systems, essentially. So yeah, Ross is absolutely right. We're looking into it. We recognize the need, and that is the future.
This is the future. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. If there's not any other last questions.
Just a quick one. If you can do that presentation you did there with Slack, can you do it with Discord?
I want to, and I made it the exact same way, but for some reason, Discord just doesn't want to seem to play nice. So I'm investigating further, and I'm hoping to have one out shortly. I was hoping to do it with Discord because I wanted to show it. I wanted to just be like, hey guys, now go into Discord and ask the bot, but like it just didn't work. It worked like a charm with Slack. First try, no issues. Discord, I'm probably going to post a YouTube on that soon once I get that figured out. But yeah, cool. Awesome. Well, thanks guys.
Thank you.
Have a
You
great
guys.
week. Talk to you soon.
Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Talk to you
Have
later.
a good week. Bye bye.